So when we are doing running or walking or biking, we just forget about them because we really try to engage the glute max, but we forget about the glute med. So today is going to be a lot of glute med exercises, as well as, if you've come down to my classes, you know I love the abductor, which connects from your pelvis down to your knee on the outside. And so anytime you're kind of abducting, so lifting your leg out and in, you'll feel that engagement. So we'll also have some core, but this is very glute focused. So in case people came in late, let me just put the Spotify playlist in one more time if you want to listen to that. If not, oh, did I just, okay, yeah. The Spotify playlist is there. If you want to listen to your own, feel free to do that too. All right, so we're going to start on our backs. So finding that glute bridge position. So before you even do that part, make sure the sacrum is pressed down into the mat, that lower back is down. You shouldn't be able to fit a hand underneath or anything. That spine is down, and then you can place the hands on your thighs or on your hip bones, and you're gonna press the feet and kind of pull them away on the mat and then lift the hips up. And there's this big misconception that you really have to lift your hips up high to get engagement, but the reality is you can be super low and still feel those glutes engaged. So those hands can be pressing down, and we're just gonna start doing a little pulses here. So engaging those glutes, and if you really want to get that little active component, to really try to pull those feet apart too, like we're dialing them out a little bit on the mat or the floor, whatever you're on. The little pulses up and down, and you never really want them to relax. So even when you're lowering it down, you really want to keep them engaged, because that's where the low back will start to come in if you don't keep them engaged. Little pulses here. We'll do 3, 2, 1. And we're going to heel toe that left foot to the middle and extend that right leg out. And here's where we're going to start to get into that glute med in your abductor. So we're going to just abduct out a couple feet and then back into center. Coming out to the side, out to center. And you can even put your hands on your pelvis if you feel like it's turning a little bit. You're going to feel that left glute, ooh, really fire up here. Good. 3, 2, good. Last one. And you can bring that right foot down. We'll come to the left leg, extending that left leg out here. Same movement of abduction. We're extending that leg out and back in. It's funny, this side is much stronger for me. The toe is flexed in towards you. You don't want that left hip to drop down. So even I'm having to compensate a little bit here. Core is engaged. 3, 2, good. Last one. You'll feel that oblique start to fire up a little bit and down. Good. We're going to lower the lower back onto the ground. You can hug those knees in for a second and circle them here. Good. We're going to do one more little glute warm-up. So bring those feet back down, finding the neutral pelvis and lifting the hips up. And here, we're going to bring that right leg up to 90 degrees and take that left hand and press against it. So you're building that tension between your right leg and your left hand. Again, tucking those ribs in, engaging that glute. If this feels okay, you can start to lift and lower that left foot. And that might feel like a lot, so feel free to just stay in that glute bridge. But if you want a little bit extra, you can start to lift and lower that left foot. And that also starts to wake up the fascia in your foot a little bit too. 3, 2, 1. Good. We'll switch to the other side. We're bringing that left foot up. The right hand is crossing over, pressing against that left leg. Feel free to stay here. That feels like a lot for me. If you want to add on, we're adding on that right heel, lifting and lowering. Gotta warm up our glutes before we go right into work. Good. 3, 2, 1, both feet down, and now we'll lower and go into our core. So bringing those hands behind the base of your neck, those elbows are pulling up. Again, you're finding that same kind of neutral spine where the lower back is pressed down. And we're going to inhale. On your exhale, you're lifting up as much as you can off those shoulder blades, and we're going to extend that left leg out. Really tucking down with that core, getting into those deep core muscles. Left foot comes down and lower. Inhale, exhale, and lift. You're going to pressing the head back into those hands. That right leg lifts, toes flexed in, right leg down. All right, we're adding on. Inhale, exhale, and lift. That left leg comes out. We're twisting a little bit towards that left side. So left foot is out, twisting towards the left, feeling that oblique fire up. Back to the middle, left foot goes down. Inhale, exhale, peeling those shoulder blades up. Right leg straightens, we're twisting towards the right. Really pressing down with that spine back to the middle, lowering that right leg and down, adding on again. Inhale, exhale, and lift. That left leg comes up. We're twisting, we're doing 1 abduction here. Out to the side and back in, left foot down, whew, and lower, ow. Inhale, exhale, and lift. That right leg comes out, twisting to the right. 1 abduction, back in, lower that foot down. All right, we're gonna just do 2 abductions this time, and then we'll be done with core. Inhale, well, done with core for now. Inhale, exhale, and lift. We're bringing that left foot up, twisting towards that left side, and we're doing 2 abductions here. At your own speed. Twist back to center, left foot down. All right, last one. Core is burning. Inhale, exhale, and lift. That right leg comes up, twisting towards the right. We're doing 2 abductions here. Good, right foot down, twist back to the center. Woo, all right. Ow. Good job, everyone. Hopefully, core's a little warmed up. I'm gonna have a sip of water and then we're gonna go right into our glute meets. So I organized today a little bit differently if you've been to my class. Today it's gonna be time-based with some reps in there. So our first round, we're gonna be doing an AMRAP, which is as many rounds as possible. So our first exercise is a glute med lift. So I think we've done this before, but you're coming down onto that forearm, thumb is up. Those knees are kind of like at a V, and then you're gonna use the oblique and the glute med to lift up and back down. So this knee lift is optional. If it feels better just to lift up and down, that's fine. I actually sometimes find that I like it better when I lift the leg. So these are your options. You can keep the knees and lift here, or if you want to add that top leg, and you're going to feel that in a place that you don't usually feel work. So 10 glute med lifts on one side, 10 glute med lifts on the other side, and then second exercise will be our clamshells. So you can come down on your forearm or all the way down so your head's on the ground. And we're gonna be doing clamshells. So those feet are basically glued together at first. So you're gonna open it up as wide as you can with a neutral pelvis, internally rotate, and that's where you're gonna get into the glute med, and then tap down. So we're opening up, internally rotating, tap the foot down, and close. So we're doing 10 of those. So, you know, that was 1 and 2, and then 10 on the other side. And we're repeating that as many times in 4 minutes as we can, which it's probably gonna be about 2 times through. All right, so we're starting, I'll walk you obviously through this. We're starting with our glute med lifts. All right, coming on that forearm, those legs are in a V. We'll start in 3, 2, 1. So 10. Again, you're taking this at your own speed. 10 reps here. Engaging the core, really squeezing up with the glute and obliques here. If you have any questions, feel free to also unmute and ask. Take this at your own speed. Good, when you're done with those 10, you're switching to the other side for your glute med lifts. You want to take some of that weight out of your shoulder too by really squeezing up with the hips and sliding your scapula back so that it's tucked right on top of your ribs. All right, when you're done with those 10 glute med lifts, you're coming into your clamshells. So 10 of those open and closes. So foot is glued down, you're opening as wide as you can with that neutral pelvis, internally rotating that knee, flexing the toe, tapping the foot back down and closing. Oh, it burns. So we're doing 10 of these at your own speed. Good, when you're done with those 10, switching to the other side. So really trying to keep as much as you can that knee from coming down here. You want to keep the knee lifted up internally, tap, and down. That toe is flexed the whole time. When you're done with the 10, you're going right back in to our glute med lifts. We have about a minute left here. So wherever you're at, just trying to get a couple more reps in. No need to rush. We're not in a hurry. If you want a little extra challenge on these glute med lifts, you can always keep the hip hovered a little bit above the ground as you lift and lower. That makes it much harder. So 10 reps of each. We have about 30 seconds left. So if you just started one side, you can always cut the reps in half so that you're not uneven. So kind of check in, knowing that we have about 15 seconds left. Good, 3, 2, 1. I'll give everyone another like 10 seconds or so if you need to finish out your reps to make it even. If not, feel free to grab some water. All right, did that feel new, like a new muscle was being worked there? That's how I always feel. All right, we're going in to our next set of glute med / glute exercises. So our first one is going to be a side squat walk. So if you don't have a mat, you can just pick any distance. But we're gonna sit those hips back and down and find a neutral spine, and we're gonna walk side to side on our mat. We're gonna feel, as long as we're really hinging those hips back, we're gonna feel the abductors working, the quads. We're gonna be doing this for 2 minutes, which is gonna feel like a lot of time. And if you have a band, feel free to add a band for these too. For the next 2 minutes of our 4-minute interval, we're gonna be doing a 1-leg deadlift, which I think we've done in here, finding that neutral hip. We're tilting forward into kind of an airplane, and then, see, my balance isn't that good, coming back up. We'll stay on one leg for 1 minute, and then the other leg for the other minute. Sound good? All right, we're doing those sidewalks for 2 minutes, staying low. We'll start in 3, 2, 1. So first, before you start hinging those hips back, finding your neutral spine, and then little steps, and really each step trying to pull that mat apart. And you can take little ones. You can see how it feels to take a little bit of bigger steps. Your choice here. I sometimes like to find my pelvis just to make sure I'm really hinging back. And again, you can always stop for a second, really squeeze the outside of the glutes. If you're feeling it at all in your low back, make sure you're tucking so that you're not arching the back. That back has a little bit of a tuck to protect it. All right, 1 minute left here. Maybe you want to try to get a little bit lower for that final minute. Really hinging those hips back here. Something's burning. Don't know what it is. All right, final 30 seconds here. Good, maybe a little bit lower. Final 15 seconds. Shaking out my glutes for a second. All right, 10. Good, 3, 2, 1. We're turning right away and going right into those 1-leg deadlifts. So hinging forward, you can always tap the ground if you want, and then raising back up. So we're staying on one side for a whole minute here. Trying to keep that pelvis as even as you can. Really engaging the core. Feeling it all the way down that back chain. So probably also engaging some of those upper back muscles. And everyone's balance is different. Some days I have better balance than others. That's very normal. All right, getting ready to switch to that other side. We'll start in 3, 2, 1. Switching to that other leg. Hinging forward here. Again, I sometimes like to hold on to my pelvis and make sure that I'm staying even here. Nice and neutral. All right, halfway here, 30 seconds left. Really hinging the hips back. All right, final 15 seconds. Three, 2, 1. You can shake it out. Feel free to grab some water. Hopefully that felt good for everyone. I'm feeling lots of things in my glutes. All right, next up, we're back into very much the glute med here. So we're gonna be in our quadruped. So I'll start sideways so you can see what I mean. Good. gotta move my boyfriend's shoes under there. All right, so we're in that quadruped position. Notice on my back's not arched. We're finding a neutral spine. And you're basically just gonna lift straight up that, we'll start with our left leg, and then you're internally rotating it here. So keeping the hips, and just lifting up a couple inches with that knee. So I'm gonna do this more at a diagonal. So we're up straight, and then you're bringing that knee out to the side, finding that neutral pelvis, and then just lifting up a couple inches. So we're not straight up, that knee is out to the side, like we're externally rotating our knee. So we're doing 10 of those on each side, and then 10 side plank leg lifts, which if you've ever taken Meredith's class, it's like her favorite exercise. So you can have that foot out if you need more support, or you can have it right under, and then finding that side plank, so lifting that leg up, and we're just finding pulses. We'll do 10 lifts, and then 10 lifts on the other side. So same kind of concept as that first round, 10 reps on each side of first exercise, 10 reps, second side, 4 minutes total. All right, let's start with those quadruped glute lifts in 3, 2, 1. So 4 minutes on the clock. You're finding that extension out to the side and just lifting. This one really burns me. I feel like I'm targeting very deep into my glute. So doing 10 reps on each side. When you're done with those 10, switching to the other side. You may have one side that feels a lot better for you. When you're done with those 10, we'll come to our side plank and do our side plank extensions. So just lifting that leg out, coming to your lifts, 10 here. Take your time. Really tucking those glutes here, tucking the hips. When you're done with those 10, switching to the other side. Core is still engaged here. All right, whenever you're done, you're going right back to the beginning. So extending that leg up, out to the side, and lifts. Nice. So trying to keep that back flat as much as you can. Ten on each side. Ow. We're more than halfway, 2 minutes and 15 seconds in. When you're done with the quadruped, you'll come back to our side plank lifts. It's a small movement, but it really hurts. Control here, making sure the pelvis is staying even. All right, we have 1 minute left. So wherever you are, kind of calculate in your head if you are going back to the beginning. Maybe you want to cut the reps in half this time so you can fit it all in, or maybe you just want to do one of the exercises. We got about 25 seconds left here. All right, final 15 seconds. Good. 3, 2, 1, relax. All right, we have one final glute thing and then we'll move on to a little bit of core. So feel free to grab water, take a second. And we'll find ourselves on our sides again. So kind of like our clamshell, except this time the legs will be straight-ish. So you can come down on, I don't know if you can even see me, you can come down on your forearm, you can come down on your arm, whatever feels best for you here. We're gonna be really targeting that abductor and our glute med. So if it feels better to have that bottom leg bent, that's fine too. See what works best for you. So you can start on either side here. You're gonna flex that top foot and we're just gonna start lifting and lowering. So there's no need for this leg to get super high. You really just want it about at a 45-degree angle and back down. And if you want a little bit of extra, you can also try to point down that toe a little bit more and that gets all the way up. So I guess internally rotating that toe a little bit. All right, so staying in the bottom, we're gonna do little pulses here. Again, try not to fall forward on your mat. You're still finding that control in your core and your ribs. It's a little movement. This is often becomes very obvious to people if you don't have a strong abductor in these exercises because you're gonna start cramping up, which is very normal. Just take a second, come back to it. We're gonna move the foot a foot to the front and lift up and down. So that foot is in front a little bit. We're gonna feel it pretty much directly in that glute med. Toe is flexed. Ow! All right, coming to pulses in the bottom here. Little pulses, so that foot is in front a couple inches, but again, that pelvis isn't coming forward. That pelvis is staying still exactly on top of the other hip bone. Ah! This one might feel really intense for people, or the next one might. It really depends on the person. It's a little tiny movement, but man. All right. This time, moving that foot to the back and lifting up and down. This is the one that absolutely gets me every time. So I always have to make sure I put my hand here to keep my pelvis from falling forward. So it's about a foot behind you here. It's not actually going to be a foot, but a little bit behind that neutral position you found for the first one. All right, pulses in the back here, finding a little bit of movement. Core is engaged. You got this. All right, we have 30 seconds left. We're gonna circle here, circling up and around. This might feel really hard, and that's fine. You can always take it easy. All right, switch directions, final 15 seconds. Good, 3, 2, 1. You can hug that knee in for a second. Give your glute a little punch, just a little bit of help letting that blood and lactic acid pump out. How'd everyone do? Was that really hard? Easy? Anyone feel like that was super doable? Feel free to put in the chat if you had an immediate reaction to that. I'll give you another couple seconds to recover, and then we'll go to the other side. Yeah, okay, cool. I also thought that was difficult, so I needed some confirmation. All right, laying down on the other side. So you may find that one side is way stronger than the other side. This is gonna be my weak side, so wish me luck. But maybe, hopefully for all of you, this will be your strong side. So coming down, we're again finding that neutral position, that leg is flexed and straight even out with that hip. We'll start in 3, 2, 1, and we're just lifting up and down here. Again, you can always find that toe flex down a little bit more if you want a little bit more up the back chain. And you don't have to worry again about that leg coming up super high. It's not about the mobility here as much as it is about that stability. All right, coming to those pulses in the bottom. So it's a little tiny movement. So we're finding like little mini muscle contractions here and helping our muscles become more adaptable because we're asking a lot of them right now. All right, moving that foot, a foot to the front and lifting up and down. There's a lot of control that comes in to lifting that foot to the front. So check in, making sure that pelvis is staying even. I feel it directly in that glute med. I want to know after who thinks that this one, the one to the front is harder or the one to the back. All right, pulses in the front. That foot is getting those little pulses, but in the front this time. All right, getting ready to transition to the back. In 3, 2, 1, we're bringing that foot behind again. Check in here, making sure that you can stay with that foot in the back. And if you can't, just find neutral again while keeping that core engaged. You can always use that hand as a little bit of a stability tool at the front too. So that foot is a couple inches behind that neutral position. All right, finding those pulses. Woo. Little pulses in the back. Also, I just want the record to show that this is hard. This is hard for almost everyone. So if you are feeling like, oh my gosh, that is a very normal reaction to this. People do not usually target these muscles as much as they should. All right, back to those circles, final 30 seconds. We're circling to the back. All right, switching directions to the front. Good, and rest. You can bring that knee to the front if you want and give your butt a couple of punches. Really kind punches. And then when you're ready, feel free to take a break. I want to know from people, what was the back is worse? Agreed. Okay, anyone else feel like the front is worse? Would love some feedback from the crowd. I think that, interesting. So I would say the pain in your shin is just from probably flexing the toe in for that long. So I would say there's no reason that you have to flex the toe. So next time, probably just relax the foot. So this movement is not one that we usually do. So I would just relax a little bit more and see if it feels better. Anything else? Front was, oh, interesting. Front was worse on right, but all right. Good feedback. All right, we're moving into core in case we're a little tired of our glutes working. So we're gonna go back to our AMRAP, so as many rounds as possible. So our first exercise is 10 leg lifts. So you're on your back. You can do this with your legs straight, or you can do it with your knees bent. But if you're doing it with your legs straight, you want that lower back to stay on the ground. So your range of motion may be here if you want to do that, or you can keep the knees bent and the legs can stay, or the back can stay on the ground, or you can straighten them and do your leg lifts there. So 10 leg lifts, and then we're coming on our stomach for Supermans. And I want to give a couple cues for this first because people really start to hurt their lower back doing this. So bringing those arms into your like goal posts, and then you're basically squeezing up the core and squeezing the glutes and then lifting. So it's not, this shouldn't be necessarily a total lower back exercise. You should feel this in your upper back and your glutes. So we're here and then squeezing the core and the glutes, lifting up and back down. Doing 10 of those. And then finally, 10 plank jacks or plank walks. So option 1 is to find that plank and we're stepping out and in. So that would be 1, or you can do those jumps instead. And we're doing that as many times through in 4 minutes as we can. Take it at your own speed. You're the expert of your own life. So we're gonna start with those leg lifts. So 10 of those. Again, knees can be bent or they can be straight. We'll start in 3, 2, 1. So 10 here. I'm gonna have my knees bent, but up to you. Again, leg lifts, the slower you go, the more challenging it's gonna be. So no need to rush through these. When you're done with your leg lifts, you can go into your Supermans. For those Supermans, you're finding your way on your stomach. Elbows are in your goalpost, engaging the core and the glutes before you lift up here. That neck is neutral. You can keep the feet on the ground or lift them up a little bit if that's better. And then whenever you're done with Supermans, going into our plank jacks or plank steps, your choice. So that was plank jacks, or you can step out and in. And then right back into your first exercise whenever you get there. So back into those leg lifts. Take this at your own speed. We are halfway right now, so 2 minutes to go. So 10 leg lifts, 10 Supermans, 10 plank jacks, as many times in these next 2 minutes as you can. Whew, ow. All right, we have about 1 minute left. No rush at all. Breathing here. Good, final 30 seconds. Wherever you're at, having a little bit of fun. All right, we have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, relax. Nice job, everyone. All right, we are gonna end today with a plank challenge to end the summer because full circle. So I didn't wanna do a ton of core today so that everyone would be at their best for these planks. So if you set a goal for yourself at the beginning of the summer, maybe today is the day that you try to meet that. No pressure at all. We're all works in progress. So what the plank challenge is, for those of you who this is your first time, essentially we're just planking as long as we can with good form. So we're working on a little bit more of our muscular endurance rather than just that power and strength that we do oftentimes in both glute and core exercises. So we're finding that strength and we're finding that endurance. So you can do it on your forearms, you can do it on your hands, you can do it on your knees, whatever feels best for you. I will give 30-second cues, so 30 seconds in, 1 minute in, 1 minute 30. You can also time yourself, your choice. And then just because I can't see you, let me know when you're done so that I can stop the timer eventually when the last person finishes. And this shouldn't be a competition between everyone. This is just a competition between yourself, and it should be a loving and encouraging one, not one of inflexibility, if that makes sense. So I think there's a time and a place for goal setting, but I think there's also time and a place for gentleness to yourself. So with that said, let's get right into it. So we'll find that plank position, and I'll give some cues once we actually get into it. Yeah, so set a goal for yourself here, or don't. Just see what feels best for you. We'll start in 3, 2, 1, finding that plank position. So you're tucking the tailbone here, really squeezing the glutes. That core and the ribs are tucked in. Shoulder blades are relaxed down. I know that's a lot. Pressing that neck up so that it's in line with your spine. So sometimes it's best to get your mind off things, so feel free to, daydream, think about other things. We're 30 seconds in here. I'm gonna stop in a minute so I can help encourage everyone else. Good, staying strong, finding that endurance here. Your body is stronger than it thinks it is. Nice, we're 1 minute in. Awesome job, everyone. If you finish, just make sure you let me know in the chat. You can private message me or put it in the chat to everyone, and then you can start stretching a little bit, and then we'll do some coordinated stretching together afterwards. So let's keep it up. You all look awesome. I can't actually see you, but I'm sure that you all look awesome. You're almost to that 1.5 minutes. All right, you are to that 1.5 minutes. Awesome job. Whenever you finish, you can just find some stretches that feel really good to you in the moment. And be proud of yourself. Doing a 30-second plank alone is very hard. You're holding up your entire body. which is why it's such an effective exercise for core strength. All right, we are at 2 minutes in. Weird noise. Staying strong here. I remember when I used to plank, I used to make myself listen to true crime podcasts because that would help distract me. Nice. Good job, everyone. Make sure you're breathing. Don't hold your breath too much. 2 minutes, 30 seconds. All right, so I see some people are done. If you're still going, keep it up. You all are rock stars. This is not easy. Feel free to grab water, stretch, lay down. Almost to that 3-minute mark here. 3 minutes in, killing it. Nice, so I think we have Alex left and we have Helen. Woo, woo. Cheer them on virtually. Almost to that 3.5-minute mark. 3.5 minutes. Wow, I'm so impressed. I don't even know if I could do this. All right, Helen's up. Nice job. Alex, Alex. Feel free to find some stretches, take a couple seconds, recover, relax. Good, we're 4 minutes in here, 4 minutes. So impressed. Oh, nice. Good job, everyone. That was awesome. 4:11 was the final time. That was awesome. Good job. All right, we're going to find ourselves on our back and take advantage of the next couple minutes to do some glute stretching. So we're going to start with our figure four, so crossing that right leg over your left. Instead of trying to press out the knee, just let it relax where it wants to, because that's your mobility and you don't want to press or crank too much into that hip. If this feels good, stay here. If you want a little bit extra, see if you can start to pull that knee in without just grabbing it. So you're using the strength of that glute to kind of get a little bit deeper into that strength. And stretch. That lower back should still be on the ground here. Feeling that stretch in your right glute. All right, so hear me out. We're gonna basically tilt over to the side so that right foot is gonna plant on the ground here. So we're kind of falling over to the side. If that doesn't feel good, just find the legs on top of each other. If it feels okay, then we're gonna find goalpost arms or cactus and find a little bit of a twist here. If you want, you can kind of start to pull that flesh away from your hip flexor and kind of pull it around, and you'll feel some release in that hip. All right, using the strength of your core, bringing back up to center, we'll switch to the other side. That left leg over right. If this feels good, stay here, or you can start to press that right leg in. So getting that stretch in your left glute this time. All right, we're falling slowly over to that right side. That left foot is planting. You can find that twist if that feels good, or you can always just stack if that feels better. You can also start to move around that flesh. That feels good. All right, coming back to the middle, hugging those knees in, rolling out the sacrum. All right, we're gonna come on up and come into hurdlers. So one leg is in front, one leg is behind. And this time, instead of keeping those hips facing forward, we're gonna kind of turn so that your hips are looking right over that front leg. So you may feel some something here. And if it feels okay, you're gonna start to walk forward over that front leg. Regardless, you wanna keep length in that upper back so you're not just C-curving over that leg. So still finding some control in this movement. All right, you can slowly start walking up, and we're actually gonna but bring this leg all the way around, and you're gonna tuck it. So if it feels okay, you can keep those legs on top of each other. So this is called fire logs. If it feels better, you can tuck those knees under and kind of stack the knees, and you're gonna feel, well, at least I feel a lot of intensity in my hip flexors. If that doesn't feel good, you can straighten out that bottom leg and do the same movement with that bottom leg straight out. So kind of see what feels best. You can have fire logs, which is so hard for me, so the feet stacked, or you can have the knees on top of each other if that feels better. Opening up some of the glute and the hips here. You want to imagine you're like lifting your ribs out of this, so you're not just sitting back, you're actually lifting up and out of the hips. Good, all right, switching to that other side. So our left leg is in front this time, right foot is back. Same thing, instead of those hips facing forward, we're turning them towards that left leg and starting to walk forward here. I can't get very far, but you all, I'm sure, can go farther than I can. Again, keeping that chest lifted, not just curving over. When you're ready, we'll bring that right leg on top. So either finding the fire logs if that feels better, or stacking those knees, or bringing this time the left leg out and right leg over. Sometimes feels like I'm in a pretzel, which feels intense. All right, we can just come to cross-legged here. I guess you can't really see my face. And we'll come to some shoulder rolls. So bringing the shoulders up, back, and around. So loosening up that thoracic spine and the chest. We'll switch directions, so coming forward this time. Feels like I'm elbowing all the people. Good, last thing, planting that right hand, lifting that left arm over, so getting a stretch in our side body here. Still trying to keep that hip bone on the ground. If it feels good, you can always come to some circles, so working on loosening up the shoulder blades. Or you can always just keep it over if that feels better. You can drop that neck down too, so you feel a little bit of stretch in your neck. Good, we'll go to the other side, planting the hands, reaching that right arm over. You can come to some arm circles if that feels good for you, or you can just keep the arm over. All right, back to center. You have all made it, yay. Sad this is my last class for a while, but Thank you all for coming this semester, or if this was your first class, I would love to hear your feedback. I like to view my classes as much education as a workout, so I hope today you learned a little bit about the glute med and the importance of it and activities of daily life, and you can take some of these exercises into your own day-to-day life. So thank you so much. If you have any feedback on me or my teaching style or things you liked, didn't like, would love to stay and chat. I'll stop recording.